Greetings, Mason Storm here. On today's episode, we're going to be making ourselves some pierogies. Unfortunately, I never had a Dutch grandmother growing up, so I had to learn this the old-fashioned way. Although I guess learning from grandma would be an old-fashioned way. Nevertheless, let's begin. We're going to be making our dough first. I have 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of oil, half a cup of butter, in my case I'm using some ghee, 1 egg beaten, 1¼ cups of warm water, and 4 cups of flour. Our first step is going to be to combine our ingredients in a large mixing bowl. The only one I'm not going to dump in all at once is the water, because we may need more, we may need less, and it's easier just to kind of put it in slowly, mix it a bit, see where it ends up. If you need more, then add more. Because once you have too much water, then you gotta add flour and whatever, but if you just edge your way up to the proper level of moisture, then you're all set. It should all hold together and be a consistent mass and not flaky or anything. If it's flaky, then you need more water, and if it's super wet, then you probably need a little bit more flour. So it's best to kind of edge up on your water amount, that way you don't go crazy with it. And just gonna hand mix this on the countertop here. You don't need to mix it like crazy. It's not bread dough or anything. It's not going to rise eventually, but you do want to have it nice and mixed. So a couple minutes is all it takes. I'm just going to set mine in a bowl with a little bit of oil on the bottom so it doesn't stick, and throw some plastic over it. We're going to let that rest for about 20 minutes. So in the meantime, let's make our stuffing. So I've got some butter, cream, sour cream, and potatoes. I've cubed up my potatoes so they'll cook a lot faster. Just going to toss them in the pot here. We're going to cover them with water. A little bit above that, an inch or two. So we got plenty of water in there. We're just going to boil this. Probably takes like 15-20 minutes to boil the potatoes till they're nice and properly tender. That's why I made the dough first, is that while I'm waiting for the potatoes to boil and cook, that the dough is resting all properly. Although it would probably be better to do it in the other order, that way you can use the potato water inside of your dough to get an extra little bit of potatoey goodness. And I think the secret to this recipe is any type of potatoes you make, any type of mashed potatoes, whether they cheese mashed potatoes, garlic mashed potatoes, whatever, you can use them inside your pierogies and it'll just be fantastic. Once our potatoes are tender enough, we're going to take them off the heat, drain the water out, put them back into the container, add in our stuff, our butter and cream, sour cream, salt, pepper, whatever you think you need to make really delicious mashed potatoes, and then mash them, taste them, see what you need to add, and go from there. Once you have your mashed potatoes ready, we're just going to let those kind of cool off for a little bit while we roll out our dough. Now, when it comes to rolling out your dough, it's probably a good idea to have a little bit of flour, as the dough is kind of sticky otherwise, and it's just a lot easier with the flour. And we're just going to roll it out into a nice big thin sheet. Now, it might be more wise to cut your dough in half and do it in 2 different batches rather than having your entire tabletop be covered in dough, but hindsight is 20/20. Now, our process to make these are quite simple. We simply need to cut out round discs inside of our dough sheet. I'm just using a ramekin and sliding around it with a knife, but if you had like a 3-inch cookie cutter, that would probably also work pretty good. Although I kind of think slightly bigger than this would have been better, because I had some trouble. My first one didn't turn out very well at all, but I started to get better at it as I went on. So once we have our little ring, we take a spoonful of our stuffing, place it in the middle, and dab water around the edges, and then simply fold it over on itself. Then there's 2 kind of ways you can do this. Either you can do the whole sheet at once and cut out all your circles, and then drag out all the cross between stuff and put that back underneath the plastic. That might be the better way to do it, or you can do what I did and just kind of do one at a time and do the whole thing from beginning to end. Now, it is kind of laborly intensive to make these things, but they do taste fantastic, so there is a little bit of a trade-off there. And to get the fancy little decals on the edges of them, simply use a fork to press down on the edges. Well, that's enough of making these things, so let's cook some up. So we'll just go over to the stove top, get ourselves a nice big pan. We want to go for a medium heat, and then we're going to put a little bit of oil in the bottom and give it a little bit of time to preheat. And then we're going to simply add in our pierogies and then fry them to a little bit golden brown on each side, and then we're good to go. I really enjoyed how these pierogies came out and tasted. I wish I was a little bit more skilled at the folding process. I found the potatoes stuck to my fingers, and then I would distort the end product so it didn't look as pretty as the store-bought ones. But they do taste significantly better, so it's a bit of a trade-off there. That and a bag of pierogies is quite cheap, and making them is a lot of work, so I don't know. If there are some secrets that I don't know, please let me know in the comments below. If you like my content, please like and subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome.